Hello and welcome to Basement Fodder, the only show whose hosts think that the Scarlet Spider is the only damn Spider-Man worth a damn. I'm Todd.
And I'm Dave.
Okay. Sorry about that. We thought we were having an audio problem.
Yeah, I was like, what the shit is that?
What the schvilkes is that schvilkes?
Like, why is that one not going on there?
I don't know.
And yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Like, best Spider-Man is Ben Reilly Spider-Man.
Yep.
Scarlet Spider.
I hate Peter Parker. I always hated Peter Parker.
I'm okay with the second Scarlet Spider, Kane.
Yeah.
The clone. He's really cool too. I don't even mind. I actually like Miles Morales better too than Peter Parker. It's just I don't hate Spider-Man. I just don't like Peter Parker.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've never really like. It's funny because if you look around when you're down here, well, when we were at full strength. But it's still, to some extent, there is a lot of Spider-Man down here.
But it's mostly like there's
it's
Scarlet and it's the women, or like the
yeah.
crazy costumed ones.
He's got dust on it. Yeah, I've never been just as a plain Spider-Man guy at all. Peter Parker is just a shitty character, I think. But you know,
he's like
somewhere Watson's crying listening to this.
The problem is like the biggest problem with him is like there's all that like. That one fucking phrase of like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. But the thing is, Peter Parker has never proven to be a fucking responsible fucking superhero for shit. Like, all of his relationships fall apart because he's fucking irresponsible. Like, all of the fucking friends, family, like everything, it's due to the fact that he can't fucking, you know, multitask. Or
I find him very irritating as a character. Yeah. Especially, like, Teenage Spider-Man is the one I hate the most.
Which is the one everybody loves.
Yeah, I know. And I just don't... I don't know. Like, I like Teenage Heroes, but not the way Marvel has done them. Like, I prefer the way DC does them, to be honest. I think it is another case of I'm just more of a DC guy in general. But, like, Marvel's teen heroes, it's like it's like angsty. Watching fucking Degrassi or something. Like I don't
angsty.
care.
Yeah. They're really angsty. And
like, Spider-Man is like proto Degrassi or something. Like, I don't fucking care. Drama. And I'm like, I don't fucking care.
It's like
like, they do drama in DC and stuff too. Like, they did the shit with Speedy with the fucking drugs and all that. And they done shit with Dick Grayson and stuff before. And Jason Todd and Tim and all that. Like, they do teenage stuff, but they don't do it as fucking melodrama-y to me as Marvel does.
I think, like, the teenagers in DC are a little bit more quick to, like, I don't like using the term man up, but I mean to, like, you know, okay, like, let's do this shit. And
the only, like, quote unquote young, like, teen-esque heroes that I ever gave a shit about in Marvel were the New Warriors. Like, when they first did the New Warriors, not the more recent versions, but like the old school 90s New Warriors.
The newer version, like the new version, wasn't bad.
I didn't read it, so I couldn't say. And then, like, when they did, like, New Mutants and stuff, I loved New Mutants back then.
New Mutants was interesting because there was a lot of, like, interaction with, like, Cable and, like, X-Force, that type of stuff. So it was, like, that one. But, like, when you looked at, like, Generation X...
Yeah, I never cared for
wasn't
Generation
really,
X at
like,
all.
a huge fan of that. Yeah. Or, I don't know. Like, there was other ones that I really didn't care for too much, like Gen 13 and other...
Gen 13, it's not for me.
Yeah, not stuff that
but
really...
like, yeah, generally I'm not really a teen hero guy. Like, that shit just does not really appeal to me all that much. It's not like DC is not guilty of doing ones I don't care about either, because like, okay, this is probably gonna get me some hate, but I hated Static Shock. Like, I like the concept of the character, and I like the version of him that's in Batman Beyond when he's
older. Yeah,
but
I think it was like
the cartoon. I hated that.
That was the thing. Like, Static Shock in the comics was great. The character concept, great, but the show was very much it was marketed to kids. That's the problem, and so it was like, okay, I can understand it. Like, I love Young Justice, Teen Titans, and stuff like that, but I hate Teen Titans Go.
It's not really meant to be serious.
No, it's not. But like,
I hated the Teen Titans that they used to do.
Yeah, they used to do. Like, even that was like, I really hate Teen Titans Go, but the Teen Titans show that was before it, I even really didn't care that much for.
Young Justice is the best version they've ever done. I like the Teen Titans comics. Like, I like the ones in the 80s, and I like the more recent ones too.
The new Titans one they have, like, now they're in the comics. There's two different ones because Teen Titans is the one which now is run by like. Damian, and it has Raven, who else? Beast Boy, I'm trying to think. I think Starfire's in it, and I forget who else. But then there's the other one, which is just Titans,
which is like the older,
and
like
Titans
20s
is
something.
Wally West, Flash. Oh no, that's it. In Young in Teen Titans, there's a new Kid Flash. So Wally's just like Flash. It's Dick Grayson, Nightwing, Donna Troy, Roy Harper, and Garth.
Well, it's like, I compare it to like baseball. Like they do like AA, single A, triple A sort of thing, and then like the Justice League is your majors, and then your minors, like, you know, triple A minors is like Titans, and then your double A and single A is basically like Teen Titans. Like it's a farm system going up. Because when you get to, like, you know, you're the teen heroes, you're in the teen level, and then when you're like in your 20s, you're in that Titans level, and then when you're grown and you're like in your 30s and past, then you're in the Justice League,
and stuff. And then if
that makes sense.
And then if you're really good, they put you in the elite team.
Yeah, the elite teams and shit. Like there's all kinds of levels, and I like that. I have like that. I wanted to mention, actually, since we were talking about comics, and this is kind of old, but like, you know, I love Elseworlds comics, and I know you do too.
Oh yeah.
Because anytime where you take an established character and tell a story that could have been in another way, it's really fascinating.
The what ifs too.
Yeah, and I love.
Awesome
I love
like
Marvel what ifs.
Yeah.
But I just finished reading an Elseworlds series that was done by Len Wein, and I can't remember the writer. And then Bernie Wrightson did the covers, but it was called Batman Nevermore.
Yeah, the Poe.
Yeah, which was which is a Batman story based in the time of Edgar Allan Poe, and like that, you know, things happening, like Edgar Allan Poe is like a reporter, and things happening with Batman and Scarecrow, like Jonathan Crane's Scarecrow, inspire a lot of Poe's stories, and it's a 5-issue set.
It's really
good. From the mid '90s, and I picked
good.
it up in the cheaps, like in the cheap bins for $1 each, I think, and it was just so excellent.
If you liked the Gotham by
by Gaslight,
and stuff, it's very in that. Thing.
It's a really
Except
cool.
For the only thing I fucking hate is in the Batman costume, he has the full on fucking like plague
it looks
doctor.
like a plague doctor mask, sort of.
But it looks weird because he has like the plague doctor nose, but then like the super high ears.
It's like, meant to like match the costumery of the time, which it totally fits.
It does.
And the Bernie Wrightson covers are absolutely gorgeous.
Goofy.
Like fucking, if you're an old school Swamp Thing fan, you'll love Bernie Wrightson. And the artwork inside is fantastic. Len Wein is amazing. All of it is good. I can't recommend it enough. Like, I'm sorry, Len is the writer, I believe. I'm getting my shit mixed up here, but like,
Jesus, get with it.
I know. It's been a trying time lately. Yeah, right. Yeah, he wrote the series. I can't remember the name of the artist. I can look it up, but like, it's just really like, it was 5 issues, and I loved it. It's one of those cases where it's done. The artwork is done by somebody, you know, a different artist on the cover than is inside. But the inside, Guy Davis is the artist on the inside. Yep. His artwork, though not the same as Bernie Wrightson's, it matches up well, and it also matches for the time period. Like, it looks Victorian.
Yeah, very. They did a really good job.
Yeah, it's extremely well written. It's a fun take. Like, if you're a Poe fan, it's fun for that.
Scarecrow's the perfect villain for this because he's very theatrical. It's like that fear and like Victorian theatrical fear.
It like plays into tropes about Poe, because if you like Poe, you're gonna be like, oh, little tidbits and shit. That's so funny. But like with Batman, it does the Batman story in an interesting way. Like, you know, it's the same murdered parents and stuff, but like, you know, like Bruce Wayne and Jonathan Crane, who's like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and in that time, psychiatry is kind of like a pseudoscience or whatever, and very new.
Yeah.
And then there's other like prominent Gotham citizens that are kind of in this gentleman's club, and it's about like class and gentlemanness and stuff. And Poe is kind of trying to get in there, finding out like who's doing these murders, and you know, it turns out to be Crane, and Crane is like shows himself as Scarecrow, like at the end of the
But I think at the beginning he thought it was Batman who was doing the murder.
And Batman is kind of teaming with Poe because he's like saving his ass over and over again and stuff.
He's very like a Lois Lane.
Yeah, kind of. And it's just like, it's really well written. It's extremely well done. The artwork is beautiful, and the Bernie Wrightson covers are amazing. That's what got me. The covers are what got me to buy it, and then the fact that it's Elseworlds or whatever. And I'm not, you know me, I'm not a huge Batman guy. But it's a good story. It's a really, really good story.
I would say the only thing that I kind of used to bug me is with DC's Elseworlds as opposed to like Marvel's. Well, I really can't even say that because Marvel What Ifs were really bad about that too. Was like again, they focus on the heavy, like the characters and stuff. There was a lot of Batman ones. There was a lot of Superman ones. There was like a couple Wonder Woman, a couple Green
I'll give Marvel
Lanterns.
credit. They actually did better with that, I think.
Towards the later end, they got better with it because there was a lot of, like, in the beginnings, there was a lot of stuff where it was like, oh, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Cap, Spider-Man type stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, a lot, like, later on, they got really, like, they diversified the bonds.
See, I was wrong. Actually, this is from 2003. I was thinking he was older than that. Like, and I give them credit for that too because it seems like an older comic.
It seems like it would be like 90s.
Yeah, if you guys ever get a chance to pick up the Batman Nevermore, it's just 5 issues. I would highly recommend it. It's absolutely excellent, I enjoyed reading it.
I've been reading the two like prominent things that I've been reading besides like the Doctor Strange stuff is the Unworthy Thor, which that story is really interesting. But I've been reading DC wise is the He-Man Thundercats thing.
Yeah, you've been talking about that a lot.
And man, the artwork matches the cover and the story is really good and like a lot for what the cartoons were. The comic is very dark, like a lot darker than what the cartoon was, but that was really good. And then now DC's getting ready to gear up for another another team up one that I'm going to be getting. I think it comes out tomorrow. Is the Justice League and Power Rangers?
Yeah,
like the first season Power Rangers. Like I've been seeing some stuff about it, and it's like how to make the Power Rangers like a little bit more adultish while also making the Justice League a little bit more like kind of bringing them to that meeting point in the thing. And I'm intrigued to see how it gets done because it's like I like
the tones are very different.
The tones are very different. But I'm excited because also Green Ranger's in it. Like they're doing the 6 Power Rangers and then the 6 Justice League members. There's one Justice League member that
Did they stick Cyborg in there again?
Yeah, Cyborg's
what
in
the
there again.
Okay, you know what? I want to get this out of the way real quick.
Because he's one of those Justice League heavy hitters.
No, he's not. Okay, so they've been trying to shove Cyborg down my throat for so long, and I don't fucking care.
I already said if you were gonna do the 6, like they're basically saying they picked the 6 prominent Justice League members, and I was like, okay, well if that was the case, Cyborg needs to be gone, and you either need to replace him with Aquaman or Martian Manhunter.
Well, to me, like your strong Justice League, like when I think of Justice League and your heavy hitters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern.
Yeah, and they have all of those except for like they switched out Aquaman for
fuck you,
Cyborg.
Cyborg fucking sucks.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, if you're not gonna have Aquaman in there, that's fine. Martian Manhunter though. Martian Manhunter, by far, is
you can put a goddamn Plastic Man in there, and it's better than fucking Cyborg. Nobody cares about Cyborg. Seriously, no one has ever cared about Cyborg.
I guess now.
No, I don't care. They keep trying to reinvent him, and they keep trying to make him more badass or whatever. But ultimately, nobody gives a fuck about Cyborg. Cyborg is a character that fits better in Titans. He always has. Yeah. He's always fit better there. But for some reason, they really, and I hate to say it, but I know it has something to do with the fact that he's a African American hero. There's better ones. Black Lightning is better, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like, you can do better than this.
Yeah.
Like, fucking Cyborg is just, he's a one-note character to me.
I think the problem with it is like...
And now it's the movies are doing it too.
Yeah.
They've shoehorned Cyborg in there, and when you see the picture of them, oh, here's your Justice League for the movies, you see that picture, one of these things is not like the other, it's fucking Cyborg, and Flash's stupid goddamn costume, and we'll talk about that at some point, too.
I think the thing with it now is because in the new continuity, Cyborg is directly related to apocalyptic, technology from Apocalypse.
And even doing that, he still isn't interesting to me.
Yeah, you're like, still don't give a fuck.
Even reworking him to the point where he fits in and it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I still don't fucking care about Cyborg.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to care about Cyborg. He's just not an interesting character. He's a guy who is a cyborg.
Yeah.
Okay? Like in Marvel, Deathlock is a cyborg, but he has more to the character. Like, he was also an assassin. He has a history. Like, Victor Stone was a football player, and his dad was a scientist. He made him a fucking cyborg because he got fucked up. There's the end of the story. Yeah. Victor Stone himself is a boring fucking character.
Yeah.
He's a boring character. It has nothing to do with the color of his skin or any of that bullshit. Yeah. A huge amount of characters that I like are African American characters. Hell, I'm in love with the Hotshot universe, and it's predominantly fucking populated by that. Yeah. Like, it can be done well, and I'm a firm believer it doesn't fucking matter what color they are. But whatever, like, if you're, he shouldn't be in there just because of that reason. Yeah. He should be in there because he's a fucking interesting character, and he's not a fucking interesting character. He's just not. I know I'm ranting, but it just makes me so goddamn angry that they just continually try to fucking shove Cyborg down my throat, and I will never accept him as a Justice League person.
And unfortunately, again, we're in the minority on that.
Even Steel worked better.
Yeah.
And it's fucking Steel.
Yeah, but that's because like he built his costume and stuff like that. It was like basically he was like Iron Man in the sense of like he built the costume.
Yeah, what is Victor without like? Yeah, okay. Like the only time I ever found him remotely interesting is when they kind of made him a living computer in Titans years ago, and like he was like all liquid metally and shit. Like that was kind of interesting, and they were kind of trying to make him more interesting. But, like, just as a character, he really is not interesting at all. Even with that fucking Apocalypse connection now, he's still not interesting.
I mean, I guess they basically fused it, too, where he is kind of still like a living computer. He can tap into all the technology and stuff like that. But it is, like I said, we're the minority on that one. A lot of people
I don't think so. I think that they want people to believe that people like Cyborg. But Cyborg has never been able to support a title.
I mean...
Never.
Like...
Aquaman, as cool as he is barely been able to support a title by himself.
Recently, yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. Nowadays, if you look at like single hero comics on DC, there's not a lot of them. They do a lot more now, where it's like team ups and groups. So, like, even a lot of the stuff can barely support their own single
I feel like
runs. Every
comic company has this one character that they continually try to reinvent and re-throw down your throat, and no one ever accepts it. Actually, DC has a couple of these. Yeah. And DC is bad for this, actually, in some respects, because, like, as much as I love Hawkman as a character, he's one of those characters, too. Yeah. That they continually try to reinvent and give a new series to, and it never fucking takes. Because ultimately, he works as a team player, but as a single, nobody cares.
Kind of a dick.
Yeah.
The problem is, you like Hawkman, but Carter Hall's an asshole.
Exactly.
Like, Carter's a douche.
Hawkgirl has had more success as a single title than Hawkman has had at all.
And the thing
Hawkgirl went up until over 100 issues in one run, and it was excellent stuff because it was shot off from JSA. But every time they try to reboot Hawkman and make him interesting again, nobody cares.
See, the problem
even Savage Hawkman, which I liked Savage Hawkman,
Savage Hawkman,
but nobody bought that either.
The problem with Hawkman is because, and this is not a problem necessarily with like Hawkgirl, because they never really did too much with it. Hawkman, they flip-flop back and forth between the like Thanagar and like the mystic Egyptian stuff, and it was like
they can never decide what they really wanted him to be.
Yeah, is he an alien or is he magic? Like that type of stuff. And then it was like, oh well, it's kind of both, and it's like, that kind of fucking sucks. Like, I like Hawkman, I like the look of Hawkman, and I would like his abilities as a character. I can take him or leave him depending on what the thing. But the thing is, for me, I could do the same thing with Hawkgirl. And actually, in some things, I find her to be like, okay.
It depends on the version of Hawkgirl.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think when they...
Like Shayera, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But the version that they did, that had a long-standing comic, the one that was shot off from Justice Society, where she was Kendra Saunders, is a much more interesting character.
Yeah. She has, like, rage issues. Like,
exactly. She's got complicated relationships with different people. She's also got the factor where, like, Carter is in love with her, but she doesn't give a shit about him because she's a different person. She's like got Shayera, like, the inside of her, but not the same way. Like, she's like, dude, I don't want you. Like I
might have been in love with you, like, those other lives, but, like, Shayera might have, but, like, I'm Kendra now, and, like, Kendra is not in love with you.
Yeah, and you need to get up off my nuts. Like, just like, there are some characters to me that work really well in a team, but don't need a fucking singles title. Yeah. And Cyborg is one of those, like, he works, to me, he works in, like, a Titan setting, and he worked in Teen Titans back in the day, but, like, to try to make him believable as one of your big heavy hitters, no, I don't believe him as a heavy hitter, and I never will.
No. Because, like, for me, especially looking at, like, when you see what they did with Smallville, what they're doing with Supergirl, I was like, why would you actively get rid of Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
For fucking Cyborg.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like,
Martian Manhunter is a much more interesting character.
Much more interesting and power-wise.
Multifaceted, more powerful, more interesting as a character in general.
Super, like, the empathetic, like, ability alone is ridiculous. Like, he's just a lot better of a character.
Like, it's just, I don't know, like, I will never accept, it's like, they've done it with, Marvel does it too. Like, they'll pick a character that's popular, you know, in a team setting, and then they'll be like, let's give them their own comic. I remember, like, when fucking New Warriors was hot, they gave Speedball a comic. Do you think anybody wants to read a fucking Speedball comic? Nobody gives a fuck about fucking Speedball. Or even Night Thrasher, who was, like, popular, or Darkhawk, who was popular in New Warriors.
Darkhawk had his own.
He had his own series, and it was fine.
Though, and it was fine.
Night Thrasher, like, nobody cared.
They tried to give, what was it, Rage?
Yeah, they tried to give Rage a title. Nobody cared about that. They've tried to do it with a lot of different Marvel heroes and shit.
Look at, Justice, who ends up becoming fucking, God damn it, what's his name now? From, Guardians. Like,
Vance Astro.
Astro. I mean, he's got a lineage. He's a fucking popular character and stuff, and it just was like, nope.
DC's trying to do this with the Ray, too. Like, I like the Ray. I think he's an interesting character, but he's never worked as a solo.
Well, I think he's also getting an animated thing.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but it's like, so they're going to have Vixen, they're going to have the Ray, and then they just announced that they are going to be doing the Constantine thing. They basically are not like rebooting it, but basically like
they're doing an animated series.
And Matt Ryan's going to do the voice for it, so they're going to have those 3 animated. Ray was always an interesting one. The one I thought that was really bad, and they just like kept trying there for a minute, and they even like put it in like Justice League Unlimited, was fucking Aztec, dude. I was like, come on. Like, let's stop this right
Look
here,
at it
right
this
now.
way. I look at it in like in terms of like TV. Like, remember Three's Company? Everybody loved Three's Company, right?
Yeah.
Super popular show, and then there was the Ropers. That, you know, they were super popular characters in the show, and then they spun them off into a show. Okay, here's why this does not work. Because they work as characters being tertiary to main characters in the main show, because they're a funny little comic relief that comes in and does things or whatever across problems, and they work that way. But when the entire show is about them, what the fuck is the show about? And then that's the same thing when it comes to shit like this, when you split off a character. Like, Wolverine worked as a solo character outside of X-Men because he has a ton of shit going on. Yeah. But, like, a Cyclops book, nobody cares.
No.
Nobody would ever care.
Nobody is ever.
A Rogue book, vaguely, you might care for a miniseries.
Rogue and Gambit worked.
Yeah.
But Rogue by herself,
no, it doesn't work.
Gambit by himself was even kind of stretchy.
No, it never did. Even Venom, as popular as Venom has been, Venom has never really worked as a solo series. Yeah. Like, they've tried multiple times, and it never really takes.
Yeah.
Because some characters just work better as a tertiary character.
Yeah. I mean, even, like, Nightcrawler, love Nightcrawler. Colossus, love them both. They worked better in a group.
Yeah.
Like, you put, especially when they took Kitty Pryde, Colossus, and Nightcrawler and put them in Excalibur, that's when they really shined. You know,
I honestly think this is why there's been, like, when the S.H.I.E.L.D. show happened, there was like nobody cared for a while, because, like, as much as I love Coulson, like, Coulson, the show, people were like, why do I care about that? Now, I like it, and now it made sense, and, like, it's gotten better, then it got worse, but whatever.
It's kind of, hitting a little bit of wobbly. But the best part about Coulson is he is the human heart factor in all these big scale things.
Yes, God.
That's the thing. When you take a Tony Stark, a Captain America, a Thor, all these, like, just a Hulk, all these big people and stuff.
You got this one guy who's just a guy.
Who's just, like, even against, like, Nick Fury, like, you have Coulson, who's, you know, the heart and soul in that, like, humanity. You know, it's the guy who never quits, because you never trust Nick Fury.
No.
You never even really trust Romanoff.
No, God.
But I would trust Coulson.
She doesn't work as a series either, because
God,
she's extremely popular, and every time they've tried to spin her off as a solo, it's failed miserably.
And now they want to do a movie, and I'm like, okay, here's the thing. Like, you all are just clamoring for this, and
no one wants to see this movie. Trust me.
But
they think they do, but they don't.
I was like, you know what, movie? Give me, if you're gonna do it right. It needs to be Hawkeye and her. It needs to be that whole story of like all of them, you know, because that's the thing. I feel like those two together could work, and then like the whole Shield thing, like them in Shield or them, you know, doing that. That's fine, but just like I don't give a good fuck about watching just a
Black Widow movie. I don't care. This is why I ultimately think
it's like chick Mission Impossible.
We talked about this with Punisher.
Yeah,
like I think Punisher works really well in the Daredevil show. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be doing a Punisher show. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Because to me, like that show is nothing but a bunch of gun porn.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like within the Daredevil show, there was Daredevil to keep him in check.
Yeah.
Like in his show, what keeps him in check?
Yeah.
Nothing. He literally has just free reign to just.
If you want evidence of this, see how miserably both Punisher movies failed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and they weren't as bad as everybody thinks they are.
No, Thomas Jane did a fucking phenomenal job.
Yeah.
As like, I love that Punisher movie, but
look at what happened to this season of S.H.I.E.L.D. We were just talking about this with Ghost Rider. Everybody's like, oh, Ghost Rider, Ghost Rider, Ghost Rider. Okay? He had 2 movies that failed.
Yeah.
And he's killed this season of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
He's an interesting character. He does not work as the main focus.
I wouldn't say, to me, I don't think he killed it.
Well, then using him killed it.
I feel that, well, I think the problem is they tried to bring him in and do his story thing while still trying to push the Inhumans thing, and it was like too much conflicting. I'm like, okay, you've got Inhumans, that's space, that's aliens, that's fucking awesome, great, cool. Now you're trying to add mysticism and like supernatural shit with fucking Ghost Rider, and you're trying to like hump these up against each other.
I honestly think the only reason that Ghost Rider happened in the S.H.I.E.L.D. show is because they did the Doctor Strange movie and they wanted to try to pull mysticism into the S.H.I.E.L.D. show.
They did, and it was like, if that was the case, then you should have took a solid break on the Inhumans thing.
It needed to end.
Yeah, it needed to, like, it had its point.
Yep.
You know, with all last season.
And to me, like, what would have been better is, like, bring in Ghost Rider, fine, but also bring in other mystical characters, too.
Yeah.
And have it be like, okay, there's this whole new threat we're dealing with. Fuck all this other shit. It's done.
And they like, kind of did, but not really. They brought in the book, which has been mentioned, and then there was, like, some people that got powers from the book, but it wasn't like, you know, there wasn't anything that was really mentioned. And the thing that's shitty about it is, because this is what they do with S.H.I.E.L.D., is like, it seemed like it was a test market. Like, let's test Ghost Rider, the new version of Ghost Rider, not the, you know, and see if people are like, if they can, you know, get down for it, and then maybe we might do something else with it, and we'll use, if it fucks up S.H.I.E.L.D., so what, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and that, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that, because, like, they kind of tried to do that last season with, like, Bobby and, you know, her guy getting kind of split off. And, like, that show didn't end up happening, which is unfortunate in the respect, because I would have watched that. But, like, backdoor piloting, you know, new concepts into a show when the show itself is not really as strong as it could be.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, if it's like with, they've done it with, like, going with the TV example, they've done it with, like, CSI and NCIS. Like, they've spun off, and those have worked to some level of success or whatever. Yeah. But, like, that makes some level of sense. Like, you take 1 episode or 2 episodes of a season and you backdoor in these new characters and you introduce them and then you spin it off. But what S.H.I.E.L.D. has done is they wasted a whole fucking season on this shit, and ultimately nobody cares.
And the problem too is, like,
but the other thing about those shows, they were already really strong. NCIS, super strong show, and then they introduced an offshoot. 2 offshoots now. And then CSI,
they'd
again,
already been on for like seasons.
Been established and high ratings, but S.H.I.E.L.D. has struggled since day one to keep afloat. And you can't launch other things off something that's already struggling.
Especially when...
Because they already did with Agent Carter, and you see what happened there.
Well, I mean, that was supposed to be like a miniseries, then they flipped back and forth on it. Like, they were like, oh, no, wait, we are going to do it. No, wait, we're not. You know, it was stupid, and then it got canceled. But, like, the problem with, like, the Bobby and Hunter thing was those were really fucking popular characters. Like, they were
pre-established popular characters that had been on multiple, you know, episodes and seasons or whatever.
And the actors were great, and people loved them, but it was one of those things where it was like,
you can't sacrifice your show to try to build another show.
Yeah. It just wasn't working out, and I think it has a lot to do too with like the flip-flopping, because first we were going to get an Inhumans movie. Now we're getting an Inhumans show. Like they've changed it around, so they're not doing that. Now there's other talks about like what possible new movies we could be getting, or new shows from like Netflix and stuff. James Gunn just talked about possibly wanting to like
do a Moon Knight
movie. Like he would direct it, and that's a thing because like he has a lot of clout because he took a group comic that really was a long shot and made it one of their best.
Yeah,
and he's wanting to pick a character that a lot of people have been like wanting on Netflix show for Moon Knight, and to me, I'm like, I love James Gunn and what he can do with stuff, but do I feel that Moon Knight is a movie-worthy character?
Okay, see, here's the thing with Moon Knight. I love Moon Knight as a character. He's a fucking phenomenal character, but unfortunately, he's always going to have the stigma of basically being Marvel's Batman. Like, that's kind of what he is.
He's like not at all.
Yeah, but that's what he's considered to be.
That's what he's considered to be. And the other problem too is he is not like okay. So you got Deadpool. You're getting Logan. These are like the few like legit Marvel ones, like the Blades, the Punishers, the Ghost Riders were all like rated R and stuff like that. But they also like 4 out of the like 7 of those, well, no, like 5 out of the 7 of those sucked dick, and like 2 of them did pretty decently. You're gonna try and tell me Moon Knight, who is literally a Frank Castle style, like I'll fucking kill them all character, and you want to try and do a movie with it? I'm like, one, he's not super well known enough. No. People are like, oh well, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was a lot more well known than Moon Knight.
By leaps and bounds,
leaps and bounds, and he's not a fucking like just hardcore killer.
You have to think, when Marvel first started doing these movies, like Iron Man was considered to be a long shot because he was considered not to be a character that was well known enough to support a franchise. Yeah. Thinking about that now, it seems ludicrous, but really it's true. At the time, if you said Iron Man before that movie came out, a lot of people would just look at you blankly that weren't comic book fans.
But also look at like the Hulk movies.
Yeah,
Hulk is a fucking hugely established Marvel character, does really well, but both his movies did not go over.
They didn't perform to. Yeah, the first one's just awful. The Ed Norton movie, it didn't get credit as it should have.
Yeah,
it should have been better.
It should have.
But the thing is, like, here's my thing with Marvel and TV. The thing that Marvel does not get, like, the only really successful Marvel stuff that they've done television wise is the Netflix stuff.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, and I will say it again, and I don't care. You can fucking disagree, whatever, or you can hate on me for it. But if you took any of those Marvel shows and tried to do those same shows on a network, they would have all failed.
Yeah. Because
the reason those are successful is because you don't have limitations.
Yeah.
Like Daredevil, I love it.
Because I do hear a lot of the when it comes to the Marvel DC verbal war and shit about it, Marvel wins at movies.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yes, absolutely.
You can say that. Yeah. They have won. But then it was always said that DC won at small TV, animated, and even kind of like there's argument for comics. I don't know. Lately, both of them have flip-flopped back and forth on shit, but I would say small screen and animated, DC's whooped their ass consistently. But a lot of people now bring up the Netflix shows, and they're like, the Netflix shows are better than the DC shows. And I'm like, that's because they have nothing telling them you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing. They're like, oh, Supergirl, Jessica Jones was better than Supergirl.
No, it's not.
And I was like, one, I disagree, and 2, so far on the opposite ends of the spectrum, you got Jessica Jones, whose literally subject matter is fucking ridiculously heavy.
There's literally a show you could not do on a network.
Yeah. It could
not be done.
Yeah. all the stuff that you've seen on those 3 shows, you could not do on, like,
Daredevil
CW.
is the closest one that you could do on regular TV, and it might work, but, like, considering regular TV... What?
Luke Cage's.
Well, I haven't seen Luke Cage.
Having watched them, and, like, with the second season, Luke Cage is probably the safest one, and even that is very heavy because it's very, like, just
but it's
crazy
like,
stuff.
You can't compare it because they have no limitations. And what DC has managed to do with their stable of shows has been able to get that level, like with Arrow. Like, people are, Daredevil's so much better than Arrow. Okay, Daredevil and Arrow you can compare in the respect that they're similar dark sort of subject matter or whatever, but Arrow has been able to accomplish just as much with limitations as Daredevil has done with limitations.
Yeah.
If you took that Daredevil show and you put it on there and you tried to pull off some of that crap that they've done on Daredevil with Wilson Fisk beating motherfuckers to death with a car door and shit. First of all, you can't do it on network TV because the network TV that they would be doing is ABC. So, okay, take any of those shows and stick them on ABC.
God, no.
And they would have to be neutered to the point of fucking nothing.
Look how, like, they had to move Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to the late, like, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, just to put a little extra violence in there. Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
And it still pales in comparison.
Not to mention, all the other CW superhero shows, both animated and all the other have spawned from Arrow.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Their universe is all interconnected, where they all have things that happen in one show have just amount of effect in all the rest of them. Whereas if you look at the stuff, the problem with Marvel's is the movie will always dominate the small screen. DC did away with that by just not connecting. I know a lot of people were like, oh man, and I'm like, but you know what? That kind of gives them freedom a little bit. By not having them in the same universe as the movie, whatever happens in the movie doesn't affect their shows.
Exactly.
Whereas if you look at Marvel,
it's a handicap in some respects.
Because nothing that happens in the Netflix shows or the fucking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has any effect on the movies. They will never, like, let it happen. Like,
it goes one way, but it doesn't go the other. Like, shit that happens in the movies affects the shows, but the stuff that happens in the shows has nothing to do with the movies.
Like, I read an article where they tried to explain it to me, like, as far as, like, oh, well, that's because, like, movies are shot so far in advance and, like, all this shit. And I'm like, if you really wanted to connect it... You could. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. You'd have to be like, hey... we as the movie, this is what's going to happen, give it to the show writers and stuff like that, you know, you work it out, it could work, but they choose not to. The shows will never have that effect.
Like, as much as I love Daredevil, and I said, we talked about this before when I talked about Daredevil, as much as I love it, like, I still am more impressed by Arrow in the respect that, like I said, they can do more with the limitations and do, you know, stuff that's gritty and stuff that's violent and all that stuff with limitations. And to me, that's more impressive. If you can make a good show and get away with a lot of stuff or whatever with limitations, it's more impressive to me than doing this show with no limitations. Yeah. Because when you have no limitations, you literally have no limitations. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. You can have Daredevil go out and, you know, fuck a whore in the goddamn alley, and it doesn't matter, but you can't do that on Arrow. Yeah. You can't do that on those shows. You know, you can't have a Frank Castle fucking show up and, like, murder 9,000 motherfuckers in a prison. I mean, like, it doesn't, you can't put that shit on regular TV.
And that was the thing. Like, even with that, they brought a character that was, like, a very DC-esque type one, Vigilante, who's basically kind of very similar to Frank Castle in the DC world. He's just and Wild Dog, gun-toting, they fucking kill people. Did they get like? Could they do that on Arrow? No, God no. They had to, like, you know, do it in certain ways. I'm like,
they had to do it in a way that is tamer and not doesn't seem as tamer. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, if you brought a fucking Punisher onto Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you couldn't. He would be the most limp-dicked fucking version of Punisher you could possibly imagine. Oh god, yeah. Hell, Ghost Rider's limp dick. Like, that's the problem with another problem with Ghost Rider is you can't fully do Ghost Rider because he's so fucking handicapped by the shit and the standards of practices that they tell him that they can do.
You could let him, like, destroy, like, ghost type characters, but, like, if they ever truly showed the power of the penance stare and shit, they could never do it because that would warp fucking people's minds and shit. Like, the penance stare is a fucked up ability.
That's the thing. And also look at, like, the times that they have used movie characters in S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. Like, it always seems so weird.
Yeah.
Like, when they brought Sif in that second season episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, it seems so off.
It was just random.
First season, I should say, yeah.
First season, and then she came back.
Yeah, it seems so fucking off, and, like, she seems so different, and, like, it just seems like, okay, well, I guess it's the same character.
It's like Sif
but,
right.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right. But, like, because, like, trying to, like, have all these grandiose shit in the movies, and then, like, you go down to a TV version, it doesn't work. Like, first of all, you have about a quarter of the budget. Your costumes are not going to look as good. Like, that's the thing. Sif costume in the movies, gorgeous. Sif costume in S.H.I.E.L.D. looks like a cosplay version of that costume.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain shit. Like, when you have limitations, they are that. They are limitations, and you can only do so much. And I think that, like, that's the thing. Like, DC has done a lot, especially, like, with the 4-part crossover this year. Like, they managed to do big, full-scale, like, alien invasion kind of fighting war stuff that, like, they did in the Avengers movie, like, you know, on that.
And that they're doing with the Netflix thing, but they're devoting a whole, like, a Defenders series to it. But they were able to do that same feeling in 4 nights, like, on, you know, that grand epic, like, yes.
And I'm not going to try to get back into my Jessica Jones rant or whatever, but I'm going to tell you what, like, everybody's like, oh, Marvel Netflix series, and I'm like, Daredevil is awesome. I haven't watched Luke Cage, so I can't judge it.
Luke Cage is good. I like Luke Cage.
Everything I've heard, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones, I couldn't get through it because it is literally so goddamn maudlin and depressing to try to fucking watch that it makes me want to, like, literally, like, crave the taste of a hollow point bullet.
Yeah, and 2, that's because, like, Daredevil was dark to begin with. Luke Cage has, you know, been somewhat dark and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not my Jessica Jones. Like, that's the thing. Like,
it bears zero resemblance to the comic book character. There's not a single likable person in that show. Like, Luke Cage is the closest that you have to a person who's likable.
Yeah.
And even I didn't find him all that likable.
Yeah.
In that, like, I don't know if he's more likable in his own series.
Yeah.
But Jessica Jones to me is one of the most, like, despicably unlikable fucking characters in that show. Like, I just, like, instantly I'm like, ugh, I'm so turned off by you. Yeah. Like, and I know, like, some people like these shows where, like, everybody's an asshole or everybody's bad, like Breaking Bad or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, you know what? Those shows do absolutely fucking nothing for me. Yeah. Like, I would rather go out and watch a fucking squirrel jerk off than watch a single episode of fucking Breaking Bad.
Try to catch a nut, man. Just try to get a nut.
I'd seriously rather watch a fucking Duck Dynasty marathon than fucking watch, you know, one episode of fucking Breaking Bad or one episode of fucking you know, Sons of Anarchy or some bullshit like that. I don't give a fuck about these dark ass shows where no one's likable.
Sons of Anarchy had a lot of good actors.
Like, it does, and that's the thing. So does fucking Breaking Bad. It's got a bunch of actors that I like in it, and it's got a bunch of fucking, like, all these shows like that. But you cannot get me to watch shows like that because it's just fucking depressing to watch. Yeah. Even shows that I really like we talked about this with Criminal Minds. I can only watch so many at a time, or I want to die. Yeah. Because there are points in that where it's just so fucking depressing that it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, you're fucking bringing me down. Like, I can't do this shit.
How much did you kick Dr. Reed?
How many times do you kick fucking Matthew Gray Goobler in the nuts and make me want to fucking continue watching this show? Like, there are some shows where I've just quit watching them after so many seasons because it's like, it's just so goddamn dark, I don't care anymore. Yeah. Like, you've just fucking beat me down.
That's kind of how it was for
me
with,
television.
like, Walking Dead.
Oh, God, Walking Dead does that for me, too. Like, I just got to the point where Walking Dead was just too fucking depressing to watch. Yeah. Like, it's just like, it feels like a fucking chore. Like, I really have to invest entirely too much emotion to watch this fucking show. And television needs to be like an escapism thing, especially superheroes for me. Yeah. Like, yeah, I never have a problem getting through the fucking, you know, CW shows or whatever. It's not like they're all super happy and peppy or whatever. They have a lot of drama and a lot of bullshit going on. But they don't, that's not all it's about. Yeah. And that's the thing with Jessica Jones, that's all it's fucking about. It's just depressing, depraved, fucking nastiness. And I don't give a shit. I don't, and I won't.
Alright, you're getting into your Jessica Jones rant.
Okay. Alright, let's just shift away from this stuff and, like, hit a few news things, because we're already 45 minutes in. One of the news things that I had, even though news desk is generally your thing or whatever, I'll do my own fucking news thing. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Marvelous Nerd Year's Eve con.
Oh my god.
Which was an epic fucking disaster. Disaster. This company called Geek Expos did a
Bobless FailCon.
Did a big New Year's Eve Comic-Con. And they had some heavy hitters for this show. They had Stan Lee for that's a huge heavy hitter thing. They had Ming-Na from S.H.I.E.L.D., they had Michael Rooker, they had Nichelle Nichols, they had Sylvester McCoy. They had a ton of guests for this thing. And they were doing a big, like, Stan Lee birthday roast and all this stuff. And it like, on the surface, you would think this is going to draw. Like, this is that kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
on paper, this show should draw.
Yeah, well,
on paper.
I'll tell you, though, I heard some things when I was at, like, the comic shop about this that will add to this, too.
Well, like I said, on paper, this shit should draw.
Yeah.
But attendance was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people didn't get paid nearly what they were promised. And it ended up being a big fucking huge disaster.
Mm-hmm.
People were getting kicked out of their hotel rooms because the promoters were not paid, did not pay for the hotel rooms. And this is like, you know, that happened with like, you know, a local con here a few years ago with that Epicon. But that's a small con in Ohio, like, that really meant nothing.
Yeah.
This is a huge corporate-y, like, Marvel tie-in kind of show with Stan fucking Lee and a bunch of other people. Like, he was promised, I think, a $200,000, like, appearance fee. And he got, like...
No, $250,000.
Yeah, he got $30,000. Which seems like a lot of money, but when you're charging $250 and what you get is $30,000, that's a pale fucking thing.
See... From what I heard, though, the reason why a lot of this, like, they couldn't pay people and all that stuff is not because Stan only got 30, was because Stan charged $250,000, and they basically went bankrupt just getting him.
But they didn't pay him the $200,000.
That's not what some other.
They're saying
places
that he
have
got
heard.
half of his fee in advance, but on the day he only got $30,000.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you are banking on the fact that one guy is going to draw your full attendance and you're going to be able to pay him out of that, you're an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
Because just having Stan Lee there is not going to guarantee you that you're going to make enough money to pay him $250,000. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, this is just bad business.
This is just my opinion. Why the fuck are you paying Stan Lee $250,000 for a fucking, like, one weekend appearance?
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like, he was at Cincinnati, and I can't imagine they paid him that much.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. So
like,
why are you paying him $250,000?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, who? Like, from what they're saying, if he got half of his thing in
then you got
$130,000 to show up for a fucking weekend? Are you fucking kidding me? Die already. That's too much goddamn money. You're not worth it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So an intelligent businessman would have been like, okay, we can't afford this guy.
Yeah.
Let's get someone we can't afford.
Yeah.
And not bank our entire everything, paying for hotels, paying for other celebrities, all that shit on the fact that this guy's going to draw more than $250,000 worth.
Yeah. This
just does not make sense.
Yeah.
Why would you do this? And it also speaks to the decline of Comic-Con right now. Because Wizard has lost money recently with attendance being low and their ticket prices being high. Fucking some of the Wizard shows are not going to be happening anymore because of that in certain places. Mm-hmm. Like in other places like Columbus, like now I'm going to say I don't dislike Wizard World at all. I don't. Like and we have friends that are involved in it and I have no disrespect for it.
This is another thing I heard about that you'll find interesting.
But here's the thing. Like would a Columbus Wizard World show and like let's say hell, even Cleveland got like fucking Thor and shit, like all these big names. What do we get here? Ian Summerlander. Like nobody fucking cares.
No, but here's the funny thing about it though. Like Cleveland gets the better guest lineup, but Columbus brings more people in. Mm-hmm. Columbus Wizard World does more business and gets more people through the door than the Cleveland show, but yet the Cleveland show has always gotten the better.
So if you're Wizard
lineup.
World, shouldn't that tell you that maybe you should invest in putting better people into the show that draws more to begin with? Come on.
You'd think.
We're the fucking capital of the state.
The problem is with and Wizard World is pretty rightly to blame for this, and like some of these other cons, is they've all become fucking
celebrity cons,
celebrity and fucking swap meet cons.
Yeah.
The problem is, like, talking with people, is the things that we used to go to these cons for are no longer there. People in the industry, no longer there. Like, different booths for stuff, like you could go and like check out these booths that had the products you want, no longer there. What do we get? Sugar gliders, steampunk, homemade fucking shit, and like, it's literally become like going to your local fucking nerd mainstream fucking swap meet.
Yeah, like we do a lot of we do the sex conventions and stuff, and you know what the funny thing is like there's an odd amount of crossover booths that are at these sex shows that are also at the fucking Wizard World show. Like, there was at least 6 booths that I saw that were at 2 different sex cons and 2 different Comic Cons we went to. Yep. And none of them had really anything to do with either thing. Mm-hmm. That's, like, this is the reason, like, Comic Cons have become a huge thing. And it is like the .com bubble when it burst or whatever. Like, the Comic Con bubble is about to burst. I'm telling you this right now. Like, this huge thing where, like, there's 9 million Comic Cons or whatever, and all these celebrities or whatever, this shit is gonna blow. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna die.
That's the thing. Look at, like, horror conventions, though.
Yeah.
Like, horror conventions are fine because there aren't a shit ton of them, and they're not just, like, popping niche. Up, you know. It's very, like... And they bring in a lot of, like, people, mm-hmm. you know, both industry, celebrity... And their vendors are, like, all the stuff that people want. And, like, so they're strong. Their community in there is very strong. They don't have these, like, wizard... Like, Horror Hound is probably the biggest one. And even that, comparatively, is, you know, better business. You look at... I mean, to us, Comic-Con... What's the 2 meccas? San Diego, New York.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big ones. You know, those are the ones that everybody wants to go to.
Right.
But it's like every state has
but
now,
you have to
like,
understand
6.
Yeah, you have to understand if you're Wizard World or any of these big companies like this Geek Expo or whatever, they're trying to do these big cons, that, like, just because it works in California or New York does not mean it's going to work in Topeka fucking Kansas, man. Yeah. Or Columbus, Ohio. Like... Yeah. It's not the same. The market is not the same. The level of money that's available is not the same. Like, the cost of living is different. Like, it's just not, you can't have these big, mega, ultra fucking conventions. Like, here's the good example of this. The two porn conventions that we go to or whatever that we've gone to. Mm-hmm. Like, Sexapalooza. It's $10 to get in the door. You know, they get really good attendance. Mm-hmm. It's done extremely well every time they've done it here. The other one we went to, the Triple Expo or whatever, they charge $35 for tickets.
I thought it was $45.
It's $35 or $45, either way. $35, $45 for tickets. It was a ghost town.
Yeah.
And, like, they had big name adult stars there. They had
lots of them.
Big name,
and
like,
they were charging
companies and stuff,
money,
and they were charging a lot of money. And, like, everything that I've heard, it was a massive financial failure.
Because that was the thing, is, like, how much you had to pay to get in,
mm-hmm.
and then if you wanted an autograph or a picture, how much you had to pay. Literally, you would have had to have saved up, like, mm-hmm. half the year, all year for this fucking thing. Or you have to be making just bank money. That's the other problem. You look at, like, a Wizard World, unless you're getting, like, super discounted tickets, it's fucking not worth it, because I gotta pay, what, like
$50,
almost $50 just to get in the door. Then you want me to go pay, like, a $90 fee to get fucking William Shatner or Stan Lee's fucking autograph mm-hmm. and shit?
Shows like
I'm
Lexington,
already out like $200.
I'm gonna give shows like Lexington and Cincinnati Expo credit, because they bring in bigger names.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still focused on smaller creators. They're still focused on artists. They're still focused on comics.
Yeah.
I don't want to disparage Wizard World. I really don't, because I don't hate Wizard World, and I loved Wizard the magazine for years. And we like I said, we have friends that, you know, have do stuff with Wizard World. I'm not disparaging them, like, with their intent. What I'm saying is, your business practices and your business model, they don't make sense right now.
No, they don't.
Because you're going to price yourself into oblivion.
Yeah.
Every year these ticket prices go up. Even Cincinnati Expo, it was like $35 for tickets. And, like, that's like, oh my God, $35. Like, hell, Lexington, like, it's a 3-day event.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot going on, and they pull in good names and big names and stuff too, but they also focus heavily on the comics and the toys and all that stuff too. Like,
because
it's not a fucking swap meet.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. When you go to a con, like, that's what you want, you know, at least, you know, for guys like us, when we go, and like our friends, when we go to these cons and stuff, I want to spend a few hours digging through some white boxes, looking at some comics. I want to be able to go buy some, like, old vintage toys or like some new toys or something like that. We most of the time walk right past those booths where it's like, hey, these are those $400 fucking, like, statues or this, like, big ass fucking thing of like knockoff anime shit and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm like, that's cool. People are there that are gonna buy some of that stuff. But I'm not one of those.
But by and large, though, your basic fan, if you've already spent $50 to get in that door, you're in the hole. Mm-hmm. And you're walking in there and say you want to get one autograph from like a celebrity, there's another $50, $60, sometimes $100
and that's
you're in the fucking hole.
if you're a local fan that's not paying for a hotel.
Yeah, and all that shit too.
I
don't think these con promoters are really realizing that like people are so out of money just getting in the fucking door that what are they going to pay for when they get in the door?
And that's the thing is like there are so many cons now popping up.
Yeah,
that it's
like, oversaturation.
Yeah, like if I wanted to say like go and spend a lot of money at like Wizard World, that would be the only one I could go to.
But it's also like
I would have to save up.
It's a conditioning your fan base thing too, because these big cons are killing smaller cons too. Because like you condition your fan base to be like, oh, if I go to a Comic-Con, I'm going to see fucking Tom Hiddleston or something. Like these little cons that are more focused on creators or local talent or like smaller level celebrity type stuff, they're not going to get the recognition and they're not going to get the draw, because when people go through the door, they're expecting some fucking huge spectacle or whatever, like Los Angeles. And that's not going to happen, at a small little Iowa or Michigan con.
They want their little bit of San Diego or New York, and it's like, that's not the case necessarily.
So I just say, I predict it's gonna blow, and a lot of these cons are going to be going the way of the fucking dodo, man.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
So you had some other news items since I ranted about that. This is a very ranty show.
Yeah.
Super fucking hella ranty.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. Let me think. The newsarama. Yeah, in comic news, the big thing was... Let me see. I want to find his name so that way we can talk about this. This was not necessarily good news stuff. This was bad. Very bad news. God damn it. It's like on the thing. Oh, okay. Gerard Jones, who is a one-time like Justice League writer, but a comic book writer, was arrested for being in possession of child pornography.
Yes.
And not even just a little bit of child pornography. Like we're talking like not like the.
Well, it's not like it mattered if it was a little bit, but
no, because it's like one of those things where it's like depending on like if there was a picture or two, people could be like, oh well, it deniability certain things, how to get on your computer. I heard upwards of like 400 to 600 pictures and stuff like that. Like, there's no fucking denying that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty interesting. And there's a lot of people that are kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, see, it says, arrested on suspicion of possessing more than 600 child pornography files and uploading such videos to YouTube, according to San Francisco. Yeah, he pleaded not guilty, his arraignment, but I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, over 600, yeah, over 600, dude. Like, there's no, and if it's all on there, you're pretty screwed.
Yeah.
But he was a pretty prolific historian and writer for a lot of DC stuff.
It's a black mark on our industry, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, but it is one of the things where it's like, you don't always know these guys.
Yeah,
that's really the thing. You never know what they're into. So.
I do want to quickly mention, we haven't really done much on Kickstarters of the week because I haven't been able to pay attention to Kickstarters because I've been broke. But I want to mention that
I like to tease myself.
I think February 13th, there's going to be a Kickstarter event for Bob Sally's Shelter Division book through SourcePoint. I think it's like a one issue printing basically because they've been doing it as a webcomic. You can go to SourcePoint Press's website and read the actual webcomic. And of course, you guys know Bob from Salvagers, which is a huge, awesome, amazing independent title. Which was also, I believe, SourcePoint has picked up the rights to that and is going to be doing reprintings of that too. So if you're a fan of Salvagers or Bob's work in general, I would highly recommend that you go and check out Shelter Division. You can read it for free online at the website, and they're going to be doing that Kickstarter on the 13th.
Yes, this is the one that printing. I'm like digging on pretty hard.
Because of my work schedule, I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but I have not read a single thing.
The artwork's amazing.
I've not read a single thing from Bob Sally that I didn't love.
Yeah.
So there's no chance I won't like this. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that while we were talking about it. So much, speaking of webcomics, so much good stuff's coming up there, but our webcomic is on fast track through Legacy Rising, and we got to hear a little bit about it from Mike Watson when we did. Dave and I were guests on the Waystation podcast with Stephanie Menard and Megan, and me and you and of course Watson were on there at the same time. Now, actually, you got most of that information because unfortunately I had to leave halfway through because I had to go to work.
Yeah.
But Watson did. We have seen images, and apparently the story is ready, and they're going to be going forward on it soon. So. We'll keep everybody updated about that.
And stuff, and I definitely want to see that.
But there's extremely exciting stuff coming out of Legacy, and everything that they've done so far has just been fantastic, and I'm really excited about that. And it's really exciting that we're going to be, having to be the subject of a webcomic. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, at some point, if things go well and the webcomic is popular enough, maybe we can get a print, at least a print run of that, too. Because I think Watson, when we were talking about it before, it is a possibility that we might, get to see a print version depending on how things go.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about the prospect of that. Right now, we're trying to work out our 2017 con schedule. We've got requests in for press for Lexington, which I'm excited about, and hopefully, we've gone the last 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah. Ever since we started going, we've been every year.
Yeah, and so hopefully that'll work out. Even if the press doesn't come through, I'd still love to go.
I'm still going to get a ticket.
Yeah. So either way, we're going to definitely do that. That's in March. We don't have anything else on the schedule right now, as far as I know. Definite. So I did make a post about it. But if you guys that listen, if you know con runners or anything like that, and you want to hook us up for guests or anything like that, just let us know.
Yeah.
You can contact us on Facebook, or you can email us at basementfodder@gmail.com for that. But what other news do we have? Do we have any other news?
I mean, they dropped some stills for the new Justice League, some stuff like that.
And that ties back into me not giving a fuck about Cyborg and hating Flash's costume.
Yeah, but getting to see the armored Aquaman and the detective costume. Batman looked pretty good. There was there was some stuff with that. There's basically they're saying that they are going to the world premiere for Logan is actually probably going to get moved up a month.
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome. There's a lot of rumors going back and forth. Like Ryan Reynolds is working on Hugh Jackman pretty hard to get him to not make this his last one. Do one more with a Deadpool Wolverine thing, which. Could be interesting.
Could be fun.
Could be interesting. Yeah, they're the 2 rated R movies, so I mean, you could get away with it. I would love to see that.
You recently saw the Underworld movie.
Oh yeah, yes, I did.
Movie.
I did.
Want
see
to give
the
a
new
non-spoilery talk about that?
I'll just say, if you enjoy the series, I would go check it out because this movie takes a lot of elements from all the other movies in the series, and I think does a really good job of wrapping up some things that have happened in the series while also basically opening it up for new stuff to come out. That was the thing. They ended it on a note where this, from what I understand, this is probably not going to be the last one. It was really good. I would say I'd probably... the first one's always going to be really good because it was the first one. We love the third one.
The third one's my favorite.
This one combines a lot of elements from the first and the second one. Kind of gets back to more of that the look at the vampires and the werewolves,
right.
That decadent European goth look of the vampires and the very walking around in beat up jackets and hoodies, werewolves type stuff, and it's really good, actually.
It's ultimately a class struggle sort of thing. It's the upper class and the lower class sort of thing, yeah.
And they do a really good job with the Selene stuff, telling her story while also telling a new character's story, continuing to tell that, and then the tie-ins and all kinds of different things. Like I said, I think if you are a fan of the series, you'll definitely enjoy it. For me, it's kind of the opposite of Resident Evil. the Resident Evil, like, the final chapter's coming out, and I'm like, good, it needs to end. Because...
I gave up 2 movies ago.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't care anymore.
To me, the problem was they have never let go of that death grip on Alice. Like, Alice is that fucking character, and I'm like... The problem with this is all your favorite characters from the game are literally tertiary characters that could die and nobody would ever be like, oh, okay. Because they get, like, no-name or semi-named actors to play them. And then, you know, they're like, oh, well, something happened to him in between these 2 movies, and oh, well, fuck off, you know. Like, oh, but Alice, Milla Jovovich, and I'm like, I could give a fuck less, because she's that power character. Like, the character where it's like, oh, you know, she's fucking Superwoman, zombie killer, and I'm just like, I don't care. You know, you designed her to be this character, and it's like, she literally became the typecasted character. And you haven't introduced new characters to take over when she's done. You're just like, oh no, she can't do it anymore, so we gotta end the series.
Yeah.
And whereas Underworld is like, no, let's move on, progress their story, Celine's story, but then let's introduce other characters that can take over.
Yeah.
You know? So, I think it'll do really well. You know, like I said, if you're a fan, and which a lot of my friends seem to be super excited about it, I thought it was really good. The music was really good. All the locations they used were fucking insanely good. The action was awesome. It's definitely a good movie. You'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. The thing is, I haven't seen the last one they did before
the Awakening
that.
one.
I had it forever, and it's just one of those that I never got around to getting to. But
I love being able to go see a new movie on a Sunday morning for like $4.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's nobody there.
Yeah,
that's super great.
Yeah, I was like, woo.
Yeah, the last movie I saw in the theater was the fucking Storks movie, and I slept through about 75% of it.
You want to like shoot yourself, didn't it?
Because it was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And I hate Andy Samberg unless it's fucking Lonely Island.
Unless he's singing awkwardly weird songs.
Yeah, unless he's fucking throwing it on the ground, I really don't care. Well, I think that that'll wrap it up. We're a little over an hour. Is there anything else you want to throw in there before the end? This is the end.
The end is here.
My only friend. The end.
Not really. I'm trying to think if there was anything.
No, I don't think so.
I don't really have anything. Yeah.
I want to say congratulations. This is actually late coming because it's from a while ago to Pogues and his partner Ben Chapman for the 1-year anniversary of Not Another Origin Story. I'm way behind on listening to episodes because I've been really busy, but I actually caught an episode.
I have too. Like
you're behind to the point of nothing.
I'm like, man, I still need to listen to episode 1.
The reason it's fresh in my mind is because I just listened to the anniversary minisode this morning, and I listened to the virus episode too, and they gave me a shout out, and I wanted to shout back. Pogues knows I love the show, and I will get caught up.
Pogues.
And I will enjoy having him as a demonic imp in our webcomic.
Beating the shit out of him.
But congratulations to you guys. That's a great show, and I fully support what you're doing out there. Thanks to Stephanie and Megan for having us on the Waystation. That was a lot of fun. I wish we had more time. Hopefully, at some point, we can all do kind of a podcast jam and get together where it's not live and we have as much time.
Not on Skype, because
Skype sucks.
Like, shit, that was a clusterfuck. Like,
it was good to talk to Watson. It's always good to talk to Watson. And we'll be. I am going to be talking to everybody, hopefully this week or next week, about doing the next episode of It Came From the Queue. So we'll get that in scheduled, and so I'm excited about that too.
Thinking about starting up my own GoFundMe or Indiegogo to get me sent to the Witcher school in Poland. Be like, what? It'll be worth it. I'll videotape the whole thing.
Send Dave to Witcher school.
Yeah, send Dave to Witcher school. Actually, the one LARP chick that I was watching, she did it Indiegogo and got sent to Poland for the Harry Potter wizard LARP thing. I was like, that's awesome. I want to go, fuck wands, I want to go swing swords and cast magic. My magic shit blows up, not as Spolo fucko offo, so, don't care.
What Harry Potter school do you belong to? Fucking none of them, that's which one. The one where I come in and kill all those British kids and burn the motherfucker to the ground.
Which house do you belong to? Wolf. Which one's that from the Witcher school? Oh my god, he's killing us all. We have wands. He's just casting it from his hand and he rammed a sword up my ass.
Expecto, oh god.
Expecto bleedo.
I expecto you to bleed out, bitch.
Yeah.
But that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Basement Fodder Podcast. Is it shilling time?
Yeah.
It is time.
Yep.
What do you say?
Dance monkey?
That's right. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of the Basement Fodder Podcast, of course, you can always find us at our network home of digitalnerdage.com and our website, thebasementofdoom.wordpress.com. You, of course, find us on Facebook under a plethora of different avenues. Todd of Basement Fodder, Dave of Basement Fodder, the original Basement Babe, the Basement Beesh is going to be having a page of her own here relatively soon when I get time to actually do it. The Den Mother of Doom. Of course, the Todd Files came from the Q, and of course Basement Fodder Podcast and Titan Trap Customs. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter under @Basement Fodder and of course @Titan Trap Custom as well. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. As always, from the Basement of Doom, I'm Todd.
I'm Dave, and I'm playing on my phone.
And he's texting some ladies, probably.
No, I'm talking about LARP stuff. Because I have an event I'm going to.
Yeah, you're going to Dystopia this weekend.
Yep.
Well,
gotta go kill some shit.
Until next time.
Hit shit with foam!
The basement door is closed.
Foam!